I selected 3 logs from Dollar Tree of the woodcuts or wood pieces. I've glued those 3 together, and to resolve the problem with making a snowman, the whole trick is getting the eyes to match. Draw him a carrot nose, put him 4 dots for his mouth. Please note that I have drawn the snowman face on the back and on the front because, as you know, when ornaments are hanging on the tree, they dangle back and forth. Cut you a scrap piece of fabric about 1 inch wide. You do not want it to be perfect. You want it to be ragged because it is rustic. And just begin tying it on. Color him some buttons onto his chest. You can use a magic marker if you like. And I use some Jute twine to put him on a hanger. For this Christmas decor DIY, we are going to be using all Dollar Tree. This is the tree that they had. It has a plastic form. We're going to use the cotton yarn that they had, and we're going to use some Jute twine. I'm also going to have some burlap, hot glue gun. We're going to make several cotton yarn tassels. You can use regular yarn or cotton yarn. This is cotton yarn, and you'll need a comb that has fine teeth on one side. I've already made about 20 of these tassels. So to show you how I make that, we are going to use our cotton here. The way I make a cotton tassel is using your thumb, hold it here at your pinky, and I call this the 4 fingers. So you got 4 fingers, and you're going to wind that about 12 times on your hand, and you can sit and watch television and make these really quick. So that's about 12 rounds right there. You can actually do 15, which is how I made these fuller ones. When you cut your string, you've got this one here that you've already wound. Take your bundle and the one that you led with, and you're going to wind it just right down below the top there, about a little over 1/2 inch down. Then the one that you had dangling, run it around the other way. Take and tie that together, and I usually just create a knot. Now you have this beautiful little tassel hanging here, and cut your loops. And once you cut all of your loops, take the comb and just comb out your yarn. You might have one that's a little bit longer, but don't trim off your tassels just yet. So make about 20 of those. Now on your Jute twine tassels, I've got some already made, and it's the same concept, except with the Jute twine you will use less winds. And on the Jute twine, I did not comb them out. Just want mine to look tousled, so that way they turn up. You'll make about 20 of those or so. Getting your tree, the tinsel is just barely on there, so just find the spot and literally back and forth, and that will let that tassel come off of those knobs. Now when you get your tree, you can take your needle nose pliers or a pair of scissors. The pliers work really good, and you can just snap them and they just will pop right off. Just take them and be careful because you don't want to mess up the frame. Okay, now when you get ready to do your burlap, if you'll find an area where it's been cut and pull your string out, that will prevent less spray. So what I'll do is I'll go right here on this place where I just pulled that one string and cut that. So I have this one piece here. Now I've got my tree covered with the burlap, and it looks fantastic just like that. I'm going to be adding my tassels onto my burlap here. Now what I've discovered in working with this, now that I've made my Jute twine pieces and they kind of flip out, which is really, really cool. If you turn them like where the loops are facing you, so to speak, you'll notice that the ends on my particular tassel are flipping outward. And if I just lay that model in it, you see what's happening there. It looks like a natural tree. And I really like that effect. So that's basically what my plan is. And I always stage mine before I do anything. And I lay it there. Now, I want this to hang over. That's the idea. And so if I just kind of leave them there, and you might want to have your comb handy so that when you get ready to work with your tassels, you can kind of comb them, and that way they'll flower out a little more for you. And as you can see, I do want them to kind of hang over the edge. So when I glue them, they're going to be just like that. And you'll do the same thing. And then this one, I'm going to just bring it over so I can show you how this is ending up. And so when you place that, see how this is going to hang? And that's why you can kind of stage it. That way you'll know how close or how far apart to stage them. Because when it's hanging up, it's going to cascade down. And you're going to see this natural pitch going on. So you do want to glue them into place. Just lay them there. You don't want to tuck them up in there unless that's the look you're going for. All of my tassels on my tree except for this upper part. And so I'm really have wagered I'm going to just put 3 of the Jute twine tassels up there. I think that will look so fantastic. And it just looks really, really good when I was modeling it. I'm going to use some of my metallic antique copper from Folk Art and see if I can't get this to be the color that I'm going for, which is almost kind of like a rusty look. Really enjoyed making that with you.
Now, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, guys. That lets YouTube and me know that you enjoyed it and would like to see more of the like. If you're new to my channel, be sure to read the comments and suggestions. Everyone who subscribes to my channel is considered part of my DIY team, and I welcome you. Until the next DIY, I'll be crafting, y'all.
How to make a star fast and easy using clothes hangers. You'll need your needle nose pliers, some zip ties, and 3 metal hangers. You'll want to select 3 metal hangers that are close in shape and size. Taking them and laying them straight in front of you, turn them a half turn to where the hooks are to the right. The one on top, simply roll it over. Bring the points together to where the hooks are on the inside. This should appear like a triangle or perhaps a paper airplane. The third hanger, with it in front of you, simply roll it to where the hook lies here at the twisted wire where the other 2 intersect. Now, using your zip ties, you're going to place a zip tie at the very point. You will want to place a zip tie from the hook to the inner side. Then, for this hanger, you'll want to cut off the hook, put a zip tie here where they all 3 intersect, and of course a zip tie to secure it on each of the sides so that it does not shift and it stays formed into your total 5 points. Once you've put your zip ties on it, your star should resemble something just like this one. I did use 7 zip ties, making sure that I tied them taut at every intersection. The zip ties will give you more mobility and integrity in that star versus trying to use wire or string, and it makes it a whole lot easier to maneuver, quick, fast. Now our next step is to place the burlap on our star. Now I've cut out my burlap pieces, and I've glued the hangers down to the burlap, and I'm going to glue this piece of burlap over top. What you want to do is you only want to put glue on the inside perimeter and then place your burlap down and let it take hold. But make sure that you pull on your burlap and get it situated and seated. Once I've glued my burlap to the inner side, if there's any overhang on the outside, I'm just going around and spot gluing those areas. Our next move is to put our jute twine on our star. And you can start about anywhere. I am going to put a spot of glue back here to get my twine started. So the next step after we've gotten our twine onto our star is to put our lights on it. And always test your lights before you tie them on and place them. For a Christmas decor, since we are in the Christmas season, I've come up with an idea that I wish to share. I have the Peace, Joy, and Love metal letters that they had last year, and hopefully you guys can still find these this year. I want to put that believe there, and for a hint of color, because I do believe in my God and Jesus Christ, and I just think that this is appropriate for the star at Christmas. Now I have used the jute twine string to my advantage. I've simply took that clip-on arrangement floral pick and just slid it underneath the actual jute twine. I also did the believe the very same way.
Now to me, it just wouldn't be Christmas or a full holiday without a 5-point star. The very star that led us and became knowledge that Jesus Christ is born. I hope you all enjoyed making the star with me. This is something you can use for your everyday decor and easily change it out, taking the believe off and the floral should you use this Christmas decor idea. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, make sure you read the comments and suggestion boxes below. Everyone who subscribes to my channel is part of my DIY team. Now, Merry Christmas, guys. Until the next DIY.
For this Dollar Tree DIY, we're going to be needing the following items. I'm going to use the candy dish, the candelier, Mod Podge, Waverly White chalk paint, Waverly Matte Finish Varnish. I'm going to be using Loctite as my silicone sealer, waterproof sealant, to glue my candy dish onto the top of the candelier. Some people use E6000. You can use whatever you like. This sets up in like 5 minutes. You'll need an extra bowl, and I'm going to be using sand. Make sure that you wash your glassware so that it's free of any oils or debris, grease, or anything of that nature. Pre-dampen your brush, and using your Mod Podge, you're going to put a thin coat just on the outside of your dish. Next, we're going to take our sand, and we're going to roll our bowl in that sand. This is the white sand from Dollar Tree, and so I'm just using the bowl as my area where I can place that sand. Once you've got your sand coated onto your glass jar, make sure that you wash up your brush so that that is not permanently in your brush with that Mod Podge on it. Now, you can also make you a thin mixture of Mod Podge with a little bit of water, and you're going to spray that directly on the outside so that locks your sand, the drier area on the outside, because you've got it layered on. I'm going to be using the Beacon adhesive spray. You can use any multi-purpose adhesive spray as long as it dries clear, and I'm going to mist that on here and allow my glass jar to dry. So while our jar is drying with the sand, I'm going to use the Waverly chalk paint and paint my lid and my candelier. So our sand has dried along with the glue that was sprayed onto the jar, and now it's good and sealed and will stay on there and no shedding. And as you can see really good, and the sand turned out really great. Just allow it that drying time, and once I used the Mod Podge, I also went back over this with the spray adhesive and just let it dry. better than clear coat. And it's real simple to apply. So now, and I do have me a pipe cleaner because we're going to need that when we create our bow and decoration. We need 2 pieces of ribbon 10 inches long. I have some burlap here that's scrap, so instead of using a ribbon, I'm going to use this burlap. I'm going to make this in around 1.5 inches wide. Grab that around there. Now you can just tie it onto your lantern, and that will give you your everyday bow. And voila, we have our Christmas decor ribbon for the holiday to go on our lantern.
Okay guys, so we have accomplished our Charles Dickens inspired Christmas past lantern made with sand globe. And this is wonderful for every single day of your farmhouse decor, as well as your fall decor and Christmas decor. If you enjoyed this video, I certainly appreciate the thumbs up, and that lets me and YouTube know that you enjoyed it and would like to see more of the Lite. If you would, please read the comments and suggestion boxes down below. Everyone who subscribes to my channel is considered part of my DIY team, and I welcome you. So I look forward to chatting with you, and let me know which one of these is your favorite out of the ribbons that we make, and if you will be using yours on a daily basis or through the holiday. Until the next DIY, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, a Merry Christmas, and a coming Happy New Year.
For our Christmas ornament, we're going to use the wooden clothespins. You can get these at Dollar Tree or at Walmart. You'll need approximately 8 clothespins. Start out by taking your clothespin apart. It's really easy. Just take and slide one side, and then you can slide your metal off. Keep those. We'll make something else with them. And this will bring together your 2 pieces. They were originally this way. We're going to glue them together this way. Glue all 8 together just like that. Once you glue them together, we'll assemble them. Next, we want to glue our star together. So you'll take a small amount and bring these 2 together, and then a small amount. This is creating our 4 points. Now we'll glue the rest in the centers in between. Okay, now we have our main star put together. At this point is when you'll want to paint it or stain it. You can do another layer. This, you will clip the tops of these pieces, and then you can glue them. You can take your needle nose pliers and catch it in the center and cut that, and just take your time. Sometimes they will want to break back here, and if they do, that's not a problem because you'll still be placing the 2 pieces together. And once you've got those 2, you'll glue them the very same way. So go about putting those together, and that way if you need to, you know where to glue it at, because they'll assemble on top. Now this set, I'll paint a gray. Now I'm going to make another Jute twine bow, but this time I'm only going to use 3 fingers. And I'm not going to wind it as much, maybe 3 or 4 times. Leave the tails long. I'm going to cut that, and don't let go, but tie it in the center.
Add your red button to your Jute twine bow. Glue your 4-pointer to your main star, and then the Jute twine bow on top, and add yourself a hanger.
The quick Christmas craft for week 4, we are going to take the clothespin metals and we are going to connect these to make us a Christmas ornament star. Now what you'll do is the pieces that in the areas where you took it out from the clothespin, and you're going to connect those into the barrel side, and then this one into this side. Then you might have to give them a little wiggle to get them to hook for this task. So once again, going to connect this side, this one into this side, give them just a little bit of a wiggle and they'll connect. Once you get it all together, you can shape it into a star. Now taking 11 of your clothespin springs and hooking them together and shaping them into a star. Taking your 12th one, we're going to use it so that whenever we put this hanger together, I've got some Jute twine and a little bit of the berry garland. Now the berry garland has a wire in it, so I've clamped that onto my point and I'm just shaping my garland around my star, and I'm just pressing it against it, and I'm going to use some hot glue to keep my star in place so that it's not moving around and shifting on me because it wants to wiggle. Now using that last spring, I'm going to take and spread it out around the top and use it as a hanger for my ornament. And just like that, we're going to have a cute little ornament. So I'm going to use my Jute twine, the end of my Jute twine, and running it through the other side of that little spring. There we go. We have our little clothespin spring star ready for the tree. This quick Christmas craft ornament, we are using Dollar Tree items such as the paddle balls from Dollar Tree. Grab your scrap fabrics. You are going to enjoy this. I have a little bit of trim left over from a Christmas stocking. So let's get started. Taking one of the paddle balls, go ahead and remove the little piece of string. Save your little ball and your string. We're going to need them. Using the paddle here, we are going to create a gnome. So the first thing that we need to do is, believe it or not, we're actually going, you can use either side. You can use this part for his hat and then this part for his beard and his nose, or you can do it reverse. You can do the hat up here, nose, and so forth. I'm going to use this and utilize this point for the hat. So the first thing we want to do on this creation is, most of the time you have a beard first. So in the halfway area, so to speak, if we're going to bring the hat all the way to here, I want to go ahead and determine about how much of this square I'm going to need for his beard. And I'm going to cut that and have it ready already. So I've got my square. Now I want to decide on what I want to be his hat. And I think I'm going to use this as his hat. So once again, I'm just going to lay a piece up there, and I want this to be fairly long to go atop. So even if you do it at a V or tallness, we definitely want it to cover that handle. So if you need a rule of thumb, you might want something that'll at least fold over the top and come around just like so. So you guys are getting the idea. And you can make this longer if you want. You're definitely going to need your hot glue gun. So let's go ahead and get our gnome's hat into place. Now the little string we had, if you want to go ahead and tie that just to gather his hat up, because we'll make it a little prettier. Now for our beard. Now if you want his nose to be red, you can by all means leave it red, which I think I'm going to leave mine red. I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. Okay, so now we've got our gnome's nose. Now for his beard area, you want to kind of trim it into a V. Don't go too crazy or you'll trim off too much.
Once you've trimmed your gnome's beard, you may want to make his hat a little bit better and adorn it with berries and twigs and bells and various things. You can really customize them. And I really enjoyed making this.
How to make a book angel. I've got the words covered up for copyrights, but let me show you. First, select a book that you really want to do this with. It's not going to damage the book, but you do want to make sure that, you know, it's a book that you are not going to desire later, that especially if you are planning on gluing or painting on the pages. So the first thing you do is you take your page down and you're going to fold it a complete triangle and make sure that you get it as close as you can into the spinal area. Smooth that down. The next, you want to fold that over one more time into the book spine, all the way as close as you can. Smooth it down. Now once you've got this done, open it back up and take the tail, and you want to fold that corner in so that it is even with the first crease that you made. And you'll fold that in and smooth it. And then of course fold it back. And you'll continue to do that until you get it as thick or as broad as you want. And one thing that you can do is of course stand the book up and see how broad you've got your pages. Now at this point, what I will do, because I plan on using the rest of this book for other projects, I'm going to take my razor knife and I'm going to cut through here to separate the strand of the spine from the papers. I also have my glue gun ready, and then you can use paint and different things to color up your pages and make it what you want. I'm going to be using the eyeballs from Dollar Tree as the head for my angel. So now I've cut my folded pages free from the spine of the book, and as you can see, the webbed spine is still intact. So unless you just felt it necessary, you don't really have to put anything back here. But you can use tape, or you can use some kind of webbing, and as long as it keeps its form. I only desire the front of mine to be shown, so I'm going to leave mine just like that. Now to make my angel's wings, the best way that I know how is kind of govern a little bit as to how many rows you think that you can get out of your page. And then what I do is I kind of roll that up and see how wide I can get them equally. And then I take and I place a small indentation right about there in the middle. Let it roll out. And then I can Venetian this so that they are even with each other. And so that way it will help me to decide. And then just back and forth fan fold. And then that way that will create my angel's wings. And if you need to, you can do more pages, or you can make them more narrow. Next, I want to take some glue and connect my papers together. You can use paper glue or anything that you like. I'm going to use my hot melt because it'll be faster. So to keep these connected, I'm going to just pinch them right there and put a small amount of glue to hold that pinch together so that my wings on my angel will spread out Now, I have added glue right there in that seam, and that will just help with my angel's wings. I'm going to do the same thing on the back side. That'll give it the spread that I'm desiring. That way when I attach it, it is set in place. Now I can focus on if I wish to paint it or decorate it before I glue my wings on. Now I have some metallic folk art paints here by Plaid. I have a bright red, an antique copper, and of course my sterling silver. So I'm going to take and paint on my paper here. And the really neat thing about these paper books is it doesn't take a lot to get the effect that you want, because you're only going to be covering the outside of it. So I'm going to see how I fare in just running it down the book. I only want that little bit of color going on the front. Now, using the silver, and I also ended up using the copper, I did the bottom part and I did the wings, but I did silver on all of it, and you see me hold it closed. So now we can do some decorating of any sort, or you can leave her just like she is. Now, adding the berry and the green garland, and those are just wired, so I twisted them together and glued them. And then this little garland I just glued on each side and a little spot here in the center. Did the few berries on the garland for her head, and I put a little bit of the braided yarn for her collar. And voila, here is our Christmas angel. And she's suitable basically for everyday decor, especially with the metallic trims.
Thank you so much for watching this video. You can also make a Christmas tree as well as make more eccentric wings for your angel. This is a great way to repurpose books. If you enjoyed this video tutorial, give it a thumbs up. Join the team by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. Until the next DIY, Merry Christmas from Elizabeth of the Dandy Soap DIY channel.
Now we're going to use the wired jute twine from Dollar Tree. Pencil. First thing I'm going to do for this ornament is take and wind it around this pencil. That way it is consistent and my wire stays intact. Whenever you're using the wired jute twine, it's real important to, once you cut this, you want to wind the end with some Scotch tape, and then that way it doesn't come unraveled, making this rustic candy cane ornament. This could also be considered a primitive candy cane ornament. It could also be considered a woodland ornament. If you have dog nail clippers, a subscriber and very committed viewer, I thank her very much, Miss Jennifer, thank you. She recommends using dog nail clippers. Now what I'm going to do is take some Scotch tape and wrap that in, because I don't want it to ravel. So we're going to slide this off, and of course you'll just kind of pull on it, stretch it out. So I'm going to take my jute twine and I'm going to wrap it around my hand.
Begin winding your jute twine around your hand till you get the density and size that you like. Tie it in the center to create a bow. Leave the tails on it long so you'll have a way to attach it to your candy cane, and of course attach your tag onto it. Using some craft paper, cut you out a strip, fold it in half, and pierce a hole up top where the string can be ran through. Before you write anything on it, make sure that you wad it up in your hand to make it soft and tattered, just like that vintage rustic ornament feel. Once you've written your word on it, go ahead and tie your jute twine bow to your candy cane, slide your tag onto it, and then use a little bit of hot melt glue to glue your button into the center of it. Read all comments and suggestions from my DIY community. They make great advice, give great suggestions.
For this Dollar Tree DIY, we are going to use their tinseled Christmas tree form. pine cones and your glue gun, some burlap fabric or something to wrap your form with. We are going to make a pinecone Christmas tree. So you'll gather your pine cones. If you collected these in the wild, you want to make sure that you soak these, and I actually soaked mine in some hot water with some bleach. That will close your pine cones back up, and any bugs or earwigs or anything that may be in your pine cones will flee from that position, and most of them will perish. So that way they are clean. Make sure they're good and dry, and at this point, once they're dry and ready to go, you can either go ahead and use them as they are, or you can paint them and do different colors on them, and they're absolutely beautiful. Is remove the tinsel from off of this form, and if you look around, you'll find where it begins at, and you can just undo it and it will unhook. Inspired by is Jennifer Granger Gray, also known as Nana57. She is one of my viewers, and I saw hers, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it inspired me, and I really wanted to do one of my own. A burlap fabric out here. I purchased this from Walmart. This is in the floral department, and during Christmas, a lot of times they will put it with the Christmas decorations. Now the easiest way is I am rolling this out, but we are going to need extra on this. So even though I know that my form is going to fall right in here, I think I want to cut off some extra of this. Now the first thing we want to do is go through our pine cones and sort them by size as well as their texture and style, and trim that down. Now at this point, I've been putting pine cones on one side of my burlap, and as you can see, I'm not being consistent with the same sizes and the same shapes. I'm going about it in a high-end fashion, just like the one on Martha Stewart. Unique in your design, and don't feel like you have to have them all going in the same direction. Just work it like a puzzle and see what fits where and put it there. You might want to stand back, look at it, ponder on it, and see if you want to keep her in this natural state and just decorate her just like she is, or if you really want to add any kind of paint. I just really love all the different variations of color. Now the next thing I want to do is preserve my tree. It's very cold outside, so I can't take it out to clear coat it. So I have us a backup. The Mod Podge Gloss Luster from Dollar Tree, it's really only about, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an inch in this bottle. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it to right around the, close to the halfway mark, but not quite. So I'm going to use the sprayer on this. And once I add warm tempered water to this bottle and shake it up, I'm going to mist my tree all the way around and let it dry. That will also give it a shine, a luster shine from the Mod Podge. It will seal the wood and prevent any pests or any kind of bugs from migrating and planting inside of this tree now that I've went through the trouble of preserving the pine cones. So I misted down my tree with the luster Mod Podge, and now I just need to let that dry. So now I've placed my garland onto my pinecone tree, and it's looking absolutely adorable. And I have this berry garland from the Dollar Tree that's the white berries like this, and you could add lights, of course. So now we need to figure out a topper to go on top, and because that had the hole in it from the Dollar Tree, look at that, guys. That cannot have been meant for anything more than this little tree. And I'm going to put that little bow right there with it because I still want that bow. Jennifer's had a big burlap bow, and I will put a smidge of glue.
Okay, guys, you've heard me go on and on about this pinecone tree, but did you know they're full of vitamin C? The pine tree is the most supplemented vitamin C you can get from any one source in the entire world. I think it's an example of the fruits and the divine creation that God has given us. So to keep you forever young, reverse your aging, go out and build your pinecone tree for the remembrance of the divine and the very reason we celebrate this beautiful holiday. I love and adore each one of you. Thank you, Jennifer, for this beautiful pinecone tree. Until the next DIY, I'll be crafting, y'all. And thank you for joining me on this beautiful adventure.
The third method you can do grubby candles is you're going to take and make you a little bit of a gluey solution, because we're going to make this more like a putty. And so just get you a little bit of your Elmer's glue going there. You can use Mod Podge, but for this, because it uses a lot, you may want to save your Mod Podge for other crafts. Now they have the little palette knives at Dollar Tree, and I thought this would be a good way to mix this up. I'm having a feeling that I'm probably going to want this one, simply based on other things I've done. So you want to add a little bit of water to this, and I have some dirty paint water, but it's only going to take a couple of caps full to get that going, and just make that mixture, and that will help break down the glue a little bit so it spreads a little thinner. And we just need that little bit of mix going there. So what we're doing now is we're going to pour that onto our cinnamon, and depending on how much you want to make will depend on how much of your solution you make. And you're basically getting it dirty with the cinnamon powder, making it kind of grainy and gritty. We do want it to have that darkness to it. So it looks like we're going to need a little more. This is fun mess. This is messy fun, guys. I like it, because this, I know, is going to look fantastic. And you do want that powder in there. You want that grit, because we're going to make it lumpy. Kind of pasty is basically what we're making, a cinnamon glue paste. And so you want to get all this mixed in real good. Got my little kitty cat bowl from Dollar Tree. And so we're just making a putty, and the cinnamon really soaks up your really quick, so that's why you want to have something like this to work it. A knife or something with a flat edge to it. You don't have to be nothing particular. You can use whatever you like. These putty knives make it pretty cool. And basically what you'll do is you will putty your candle. And there is no right or wrong to do this, guys. You want it lumpy. You want it to look grubby. So you're just putting your cinnamon paste on there. And right now it's kind of a plaster. And then so you can just tap at it and get it really grubby and lumpy. And get pitches and so forth going in the candle and along the sides, and just kind of get all these pits going. So now that I've got that good and pitted like I want, I'll let it sit and harden. Once it hardens, I can decorate it. Or you can leave them just like this. They look great, just like that. Because the more you work them, the prettier they get, really. So I'll sit that one there. I'll work this one. This would be a good Christmas present too, guys. Stocking stuffers, all kinds of things, because they just really look really good at weddings and just really nice. And like I said, these will be burnable. All of these methods. These three methods are make your candles burnable.
Okay guys, so now I've shown you 3 ways that you can make your own grubby candles. These are beautiful in all of your decor for fall, year-round, including Christmas. If you
Using ambient lighting for Christmas decorating is one of the best, most captivating ways to light up your home and put Christmas spirit in the air. It can illuminate a small area all about the home and make great decorating. With metallic paints from Plaid, we're going to fix these up and we're going to add some lights. All the items you see here come from the Dollar Tree. So for each sign, it's going to cost you roughly $3. On the Let It Snow, I used the sterling silver in the metallic, and I also did the snowflake, but I went back with my white on the snowflake over top of the silver, and you can kind of see that incandescence down behind it. On this one is the metallic blue topaz. Now all these are folk art Plaid paints. To add more interest to this, I took the silver and I just took and dry brushed it so you can kind of see on the outside of the snowflake. Take my black paint marker and I'm just going to go around the outer edges, a little more definition, and make it stand out just a tad bit more, because these won't be lit all the time, or they could be lit all the time, but then this will add some interest so that if it's a bright area, you can still make out the Let It Snow. For the Merry and Bright, the Merry part is done in the new bright red metallic. This is brand new. They've just come out with this. The Bright is done with the periwinkle, and the green is brand new. This is actually called Christmas Green. The middle was done in silver, and then I went over it with white, and it give it this really light colored blue that has a little bit of metallic in it. Same thing on this one. I'm going to take my black marker, and to make these letters pop, I'm just going to give them a little bit of accenting. But I'm just going to go around the outer edge on some of the letters, especially the outer perimeter. Really accentuates it and makes it stand out more. And then in the curled areas as well. The piece on Earth, this is the metallic ice blue. The center was metallic ice blue, and I went over it with white, and then the star was done with the Inca gold on top of the pure gold. I also dry brushed it with the silver as well, and I'll do the same thing with the letters on the piece. Okay, now I'm doing the piece on Earth. This is warm white, and I put Jingle Block on the T, the N, and the back of the P, and I'm going to hold it still for just a moment so you can see how I strung those lights. Okay, now it's a matter of gluing it to the star. And all I'm going to do is just line it up and get it centered. Now on the Merry and Bright, I'm going to hold this still for a moment so you can see how I have the lights glued. And now I'm going to glue this down to the tree. Okay, I'm going to hold this still. This is the Let It Snow, so that you can see where I've got the lights. And now I'm going to put 4 Jingle Blocks on this particular one. Now I'm going to glue it to the snowflake. And voila, we have our Let It Snow. For the piece on Earth, to cover up the small hole, because I didn't paint it or any of that, I'm just going to put a little bit of greenery on there with some berries and some pine cones. To make me an easel for my sign, I'm going to take one of these jumbo sticks and I'm going to cut them to where they are smooth and there's no round on it. The next thing you do is you take a piece of ribbon that's twice as wide as the area, so it's going to be double. We make sure we cut this, and you're going to glue it onto the stick and to the board. You're not going to glue the stick to the board at all. You're only gluing the ribbon to the board and to the stick. Now you have your easel. So I placed the snowflake from the Dollar Tree out of the ornament packs, the little sticker ornament packs. I painted it white with my paint marker, and that takes care of Let It Snow. I've also added an easel to the back of it as well. You'll have to counter the balance on it if you do it at its point. And voila, there we have Let It Snow. Now our assembler pack, they have the stars. To place that star up there, also has an easel.
Merry Christmas, y'all. I've sure appreciated this whole year and all of your support.
Now I have the Dollar Tree incandescent mini tree here, Christmas tree. First thing is take the legs, and this piece just slides right off, and just place it back in the box. We're not going to need it. The second thing you want to do is spread your limbs out. But bear in mind there's a section, just kind of roll it around and you'll see a section where it's pretty much the back. So you want to lay that down and then begin spreading the limbs out and up. This is going to be a coastal Christmas swag. And once you've gotten all of your limbs spreaded out, kind of like a bird, like you're gently holding a bird, and bring all of the limbs downward. Just kind of want to bring them, leave these spreaded out, but bring these downward, just like that. And this real long one right here, if you want to, you can take and bring it down and wrap it around that bare spot. Now this pipe right here, we're going to take our needle nose pliers and just press it down. Just press it just like that once you've got your tree flowing straightly. There we go. Voila. And just discard that. Make sure you go back and press this down. And I have a little bit of the mesh tubing that came from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to see how all this will work. These ornaments I painted with, this is my English Navy by Apple Barrel, also a plaid. And this one is the Folk Art Metallic Ice Blue by Plaid. In the meantime, we probably want to put our lights on this if you're going to put lights on it. I also have a couple of bells, and I'm basically decorating this the way I did my wreath. Some silver chenille stems here, and to get these to attach to my ornaments, I'm just gluing them into place. And that'll just help me to move more swiftly in attaching these to my tree. Once you get your bow situated, you can just attach it on to your little swag here. Now, I also made this anchor, and I have put the rest of that little bit of mesh tubing, and I want to attach it to my tree and make it part of it. So I think I'm going to put it here, because I don't want to take away from what's already.
Now that incandescent mini Christmas tree just converted itself right into the most adorable, cutest nautical mini Christmas swag. This is suitable for about any hallway or doorway, and I think you'll really enjoy it with all of its coastal charm. But don't go anywhere just yet, because next up is a coastal Christmas wreath using all Dollar Tree items.
In doing my coastal farmhouse, I've got a variety of the cutouts from Dollar Tree that have to do with the ocean. The ice blue metallic is absolutely gorgeous, and I've just taken an ink pen and detailed. That makes it a lot easier, and then of course you can use your paint markers too. So now that I've got all my die cut wood pieces painted, I can get into decorating my form. Well, I have two of these wreaths, and I'm not satisfied with the one. It just looks too skimpy, and it just doesn't have enough density. So I am going to put these two together so that I have some more fullness in my wreath. The best way to do it is you want to fluff this out, fluff the other one out, and then see which one is giving you the largest diameter. And once you decide that, you're going to take one of the ties and twist it around it and bring it out, and just maybe anchor it in about 4 places, almost as though the wreath has 4 corners to it. Now I've got my lights here. If you're going to add lights, you want to add those about this time, and then add your other pieces on as you go. The great thing about this type wreath is you'll be able to slide your ornaments on there if you wanted to. You could just slide them on there and let the wreath hold them, or you can tie them in place. Some of these ones like this, you're probably going to want to pin them, maybe put a chenille stem or some kind of wire and clip them on. Now always check your lights before you anchor them to your wreath. I'm going to use these mesh tubing lights. They have a seed light in them. They're LED, and they are super bright, and they look fantastic on something like this, and it'll give it that little bit of silver. Now what I'll do is make sure your screw is face up to where you can change your batteries and get to it if you desire to anchor this in place to it. Also, you want to look at your wreath and see where you want to align everything, what's going to be the straightest for you. And the reason why you want these short is when you're looking at your wreath and you're going across it just like this, that 5 1/4 inches is more than sufficient, and you don't want to overdo it per se. I know that sounds impossible to overdo it with ribbon, but you really can. You can take away from it, or you can give to it. So now this is where you want to decide, are you going to give it a dovetail? And if you are, I'm going to make mine really short, because I know that this part is going to really be obvious. And if you'll fold your wire to the left if you're right-handed, and I'm not doing as deep an angle, I'm maybe doing a 35-degree angle and making these very small, because for one, they're going on this little wreath. And I'm going to first do 5 sets just like this, because I also have another ribbon. I have this anchor, and it is so gorgeous. And these have a different repeat on the ribbon, and if we measure that to get that full anchor in there, that's all I'm after. So I'm probably going to do 3 of these. It's better to do odds versus evens, because the ornaments are about 4 at this point, and I'll have to add something to it. So what I will do is I will actually cut in between those anchors, and I'll cut me 3 of these anchors. So for my first one, I did 2 loops, making the tails the opposite. And I'm going to take my chenille stem and just bundle that together. And then that way I can tie this onto my wreath. And then most likely I will glue my anchor ribbon on there. And I will run that chenille stem actually under my light. Now, to anchor your bells on there, just use some Jute twine. These are the dull silver bells. They are just beautiful. So I'm going to do some Jute twine. Now, to make these look just like little bows, I'm just basically pressing them tucking that back. I'm using a chenille stem to go around the center. And then, of course, in the back, just giving them a twist. And then I'll anchor those to my wreath. And then just stretch them out so that they look just like a bow. Now I've got my bells tied on. And I have all the ribbons and stuff into place. There's an area right here to where I can put me a beautiful bow, and I'm now deciding on a sign for the center. So using the English navy for my plaque, and then on my little truck, because it reminds me so much of the beach Jeeps, I am actually using my paint markers to do the truck. And this has a couple of coats on it. When I first did my marker, it just wasn't acting right. So now I'm going to do my tires. Okay, now we can glue everything back into place. So we're going to place the truck in the center. Little sign for the wreath.
I can't express to you how extremely pleased I am with this wreath. And it does have that southern charm to it with my blue truck in the center, just where it belongs, even though there's nautical items all about this wreath. The anchors and everything just in its place, along with the jute rope and the cord. And that ribbon from Walmart is spot on with the navy blue and silver Christmas trees, and then the white with the black monogrammed Merry Christmas running right through the center. And this is with it lit up. It's absolutely stunning. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. And become part of my DIY team by subscribing to the channel. Make sure you click the bell to receive all notifications. And just so you can see how I put my bow together for this particular wreath, I do have this sped up. And even though it's moving very quickly, you do have the ability to pause as this video moves about. And then that way you can see how I put it together and duplicate the same thing. Be sure to check the end cards at the end of this video. I think you will find that there is a playlist of other Christmas ideas that you just might enjoy and would like to view. Until the next DIY, this is Elizabeth of the Dandy Soap DIY channel saying Merry Christmas, and I'll be crafting, y'all.
This Christmas decor is an angel, and we're going to attempt to use this Dollar Tree plastic tree form ice cream stick from Dollar Tree. Also, these are the broader ones that we're going to use. The smaller styrofoam balls, these are the 1.9, so basically a 2-inch styrofoam ball for the head of our angel, and our glue gun. The first thing we want to do is take all the trimmings off of this little tree, and they have the knobs. Now these are a double frame, they come apart. My concern is when we go to put the popsicle sticks on there, if they're this way or we come out this way, we're going to be blocked by these knobs. And the only way I know to prevent that is to go ahead and take this frame apart and cut those knobs off and glue this frame together so that it stays firm and does not shift. It's just real easy. These just kind of have a latch hook down here, and it literally just comes apart that easy. I'm going to trim these knobs off. I can do that with my scissors, and then I will glue the form back together. The next thing we're going to need is to get our sticks out, and it looks at the halfway mark is what we're going to need for our tree. I'm basically going to put my stick about where I want it, and I'm going to mark that one, and then cut all my others based on where it hits. So I will stack these, and then a really good sharp pair of scissors will keep the wood from busting whenever you cut them. So you want to make sure that you cut all of these at the same length. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this base with my burlap for two reasons. One, whenever you put these sticks on here, I fear that there's going to be a gap in between in some places because of the shape, and that way you don't see the green. And the second reason is when we get up to here, we've got to make her bottoms, and that way it's already covered and it'll be a whole lot easier to glue the sticks to it and go over top of that. And any of these lumps, it'll take care of itself. So I have covered these areas that will, reflect the green with the burlap. Now, so at this point, I'm just going to glue my first one into place, and just enough to the top of that stick to get it parked where you want it. And we want this to make sure it's straight, so make sure you do that first layer and get your stick as straight as possible. And then you'll probably continue to turn it so that you keep that stick straight, because one side of my tree leans. Now when I got around to my last one, I had to trim the edges off of it. So if you're using the more narrow ice cream sticks, you probably will not have to cut none of it. But to make this one fit so that it sets in correctly and doesn't look awkward. And so far, it's looking pretty good. Alright, and beginning the next layer, I am going to make some of them shorter and some of them longer to differentiate the front from the back. And I've chosen this as the front, a little bit shorter. So I went ahead and marked them the same as I did the first time. And I'll cut those and attach those. The next ones in the back and around the side will be a little bit longer, because it just really looks nice, and it will equal out my stick usage as well. Now I want to show you what I'm doing here. These are the shorter ones, and as you can see, I've let these come down further. And then when I've gotten up here to this last layer, I'm allowing these ones in the very front to overlap slightly, so they're at an angle. Now I've taken a 5-inch piece of cloth here, and I've put some polyfill in it. And this is about 1.5 inch span if you take your index finger and your middle finger on each side. So basically that 3 inches, leaving a 2-inch area for polyfill. Now I'm going to glue that down across that top seam, because now I know that I've sized it up and it's pretty much where I need it. Now of course I'm going to cover this, but this is just so I can make my angel's bottoms. Now this is going to slightly overhang the raw wood and come around to the back and glue it into place. That way I can make sure that I glue across this top edge when I put it across my wood. Okay, now if you're going to stain or natural seal this color or paint it or anything, right now is the time to do that before you finish out your bottoms and your angel. Now as a final count, this pack has 60 sticks in it. I used approximately 22 sticks to go around all 3 layers. I am going to use the antique parchment to do my angel, and then I'm going to use the Waverly wax over top of it. As I said before, if you're going to put a finish on your angel, if you're going to antique it, or you can go with the clear wax on it, which would look absolutely beautiful, now is the time to do it. This is Apple Barrel, also a plaid company, and you guys know how I love plaid. You will find a link to my Amazon affiliate store in the description box down below. You will also find the Waverly in that store as well. Paint job that I'm doing on my angel is I'm not trying to be exact. I'm not trying to give solid coverage. I am hitting it and getting it. Just go with it. Now I'm making the wings for my angel, and I need 4 of these sticks. And if you see how I'm graduating those for the wings, because I can trim this part off, and I have my styrofoam ball painted, and I'm letting that dry. So just kind of lay them out and get them situated the way that you think they'll do. At least 4 so far. So you need 4 for the left and 4 for the right wing. And at this point, I think that's going to work out pretty good. Now to get these wings situated, I know that this part is where all these need to fall even with. So I'm going to glue a piece right there and I'll trim off the difference. That way when I attach them to my angel, they'll sit where they're supposed to. This set, and then to make the right set to graduate, you'll need it to be going upward. Okay, so I have my wings made. I glued the piece and I trimmed off the difference. And now I'm going to just put my parchment on there. Okay, guys, I'm working on my angel's bottoms. This is my burlap that I bought from the online fabric store. You will find the link in the Amazon affiliate link. This fabric. This is a continuous weave burlap, so this line is really long, and I'll show you. Basically, when it hits the nap here, if you pull it, it's going to continue, and when it gets to the other side, it's going to do the same thing. So when you get all the way here back to the nap, it's going to, once again, when you pull it, see, it's a continuous weave. This is a more smooth, tighter weave burlap. If you need some string, you can definitely obtain your jute twine through this burlap. So I'm going to cut it here because I want this fray, and when I put this around the bottoms up here and glue it down, it's going to make it look like she's got a sweater. And so that's as far down as I want that to go because her head will go up here. Alright, just wanted to share that with you guys in case you didn't know it did that or you found it out by accident, so to speak. Now I begin assembling my angel. So I've got her sweater on, I've got her wings on, I placed them back there, and you can kind of see how I did mine. And now it's time to place her head upon her, and she will be just beautiful. I'm absolutely tickled with her, guys. To complete my angel, I've got some of this berry garland, and I'm going to make her just a little halo. So our angel looks complete with her burlap bonnets and her little berry garland wreath for her halo. And you could add so many things. You could do the greenery wreath, and you could even put some of the berries across her chest and give her like a vest if you wanted to. There's so many decorating ideas you can do with this angel.
I just didn't feel that this Christmas would be complete, guys, without having an angel. There are angels among us. They walk among us every single day of our lives. Some as ghosts from people we love that have passed on, and some who are simply just there to offer a helping hand. Know that Elizabeth loves and adores you all. Thank you so much for coming along with me on making this primitive angel. Make one of your own. And I've tried to simplify this task as much as possible. So if you enjoyed my video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure you read the comments and suggestion boxes because, well, my DIY team is the best and they're my angels. And consider subscribing to the channel. Become one of the team. Until the next DIY, I'll be crafting y'all. Merry Christmas.